What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony, Lori, and Mike, and we are discussing finally the Moon Knight finale. And I say finally because we've been on a an unexpected hiatus for the last few weeks. You know, life has been busy, and then I decided to get COVID last week, so that kind of threw a monkey wrench into everything. But we are back. We are talking Moon Knight, and we got a little bit of action along with some emotional damage, right, Mike?
Emotional damage.
It wasn't as bad as the last episode,
Thank
but
God, because I don't think I could have taken it if it was that bad. Because that last episode was like harrowing. It was harrowing.
ripped our hearts out. But
Oh
this
my God!
one,
Now both of you, really?
I'm just saying, I wasn't even trying to be punny. I just.
I have nothing. That's all I'm saying is
That's awesome.
I have nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Just mind my business.
My concern for this episode was length, because there's a lot of stuff that needed to be tied up.
And this was the shortest
This is a
episode of
short
the
episode.
series.
So,
Yeah, I think we were all concerned
Crazy.
about that. Like, so wait, you're taking the finale of the series, which, you know, as of this moment, we don't know if there is going to be a second season. So you're taking the finale of the series and you're only giving us, what was this one, 42 minutes?
if that,
If that, yeah.
if that.
But the end
Yeah.
credit was awesome. That's all I'm going to say on that until we get to that.
I'm mad we had to wait till the end credit of the finale to get to that, though.
Yeah.
Well,
Before we get into it, though, I just wanted to say, yeah, it was short episode, and even though it was good, it still felt a little rushed. Like, I feel like shortcuts were taken,
hmm
you know, and I don't know, and it was just, it wasn't weird. It just felt like there could have been a lot more.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. There could have been more, but everything that happened, like the big stuff that happened, kind of made up for it for me. I mean, it's like Layla getting her costume and a freaking Egyptian kaiju fight.
Yeah.
I mean, and then finally getting the way that they introduced the final guy.
You can say Jake. We all knew it was Jake. We've been talking about it all season.
I know we've been talking about the way they introduced Jake was actually really good. Was actually pretty cool. So I think the rumors are true that they're spreading that there's going to be another season, or that there's going to be some way that they're going to bring him back, because they have to. Because
you can't make that big reveal and then just leave it there.
Yeah, that's cruel and unusual. But yeah, I think I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. I thought that I thought everything. I thought they did a pretty good job of a reasonably good job of tying everything up in 42 minutes. I mean, it's just like like Multiverse of Madness was only a 2-hour movie, but it's like they squeezed a lot into that movie. So it's the same thing with this. It's like they squeezed a lot into this movie, including like introducing a new hero and having like epic fight scenes and like just and the whole like the effects and everything else. It was like it actually kind of worked out for me. I really enjoyed it, and this is definitely probably in my top 2 or 3 of Marvel series. So
Okay. Cool. All
And this
right.
Khonshu talks a big game and gets his ass kicked. every
Okay,
time
so
he
let's
fights.
let's talk about this. Let's talk about this, and I think we're just gonna pick some stuff and just start talking and see where the conversation takes us. Because yes, you're right, Khonshu BDE, but wasn't bringing it at all. Like when I tell you,
Oh, I actually agree.
Ammit was whooping his ass all over the place. I'm sitting there looking like, okay, on the one hand, I'm like girl power, and on the other hand, I'm like, yo, Khonshu,
no,
this
she's
is not
evil.
cool.
Stop.
I'm just, that's what I said. On the one hand, it's like, yay, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you talked all this mess throughout the whole series. And then when you're finally there with her, now I will say this too. She was kind of sucking up some souls to kind of get energized. So
On that note, remember when I said her
you did.
intentions weren't necessarily
You did.
known,
You did. And I
and
thought about that when I saw what she was doing.
those souls were not going to the Duat. She was eating those bad boys.
I was like, oh, Anthony called it. He called it.
She's eating the souls.
And
They're
just getting
supposed
bigger and
right.
bigger and bigger. But I found
It's
it
like, all
funny that she had to go through all of that just to get bigger. And Khonshu, all he had to do was just get bigger.
It's like I saw that scene where they were like quickie judging everybody and taking souls, and all I heard was Rita Repulsa saying, "Make my monster grow," and then she was just getting like taller and taller and taller, and I was just like, "Damn, this is like Mighty Morphin Egyptian God Power Rangers. Like this is some weird shit." But it was because it basically had kind of, when they were fighting, it kind of had a Power Rangers feel to it, like the way they were fighting and tumbling and interacting, and then the bigger monsters like fighting themselves, and just like it kind of had a little bit of a Power Ranger feel.
And I love the way that it looked in the backdrop, like when Harrow and Moon Knight and Scarlet Scarab were all down there fighting, and you see them kind of in the background. It looks kind of faded, like they're supposed to be kind of like, I guess, I don't know, they're supposed to be like in the astral plane or something. That's what it looked like, but it looked so cool. But I'm like, can you imagine being in Cairo and this is what you're looking at? Like, do you run or do you grab a seat? Like, what do? Do you grab popcorn?
It's like those people who saw the night sky go backwards in time. You're sitting there like, here we go again. This is some bullshit that's happening.
I mean, just imagine if this was, this all happened like in the span of like what, like about 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
About 3 days. Imagine if you decide to take a trip to visit Cairo. It's like the first day you get there, the skies move and you get sick. You like, and then this, like, on your last day, you're getting ready to go tour the pyramids, and there's a fucking kaiju fight. Not to mention the fact that there's some weird guy in a suit like punching another guy with a staff.
But there was actually an airplane in the air at one point. When Harrow was on top of the pyramid, Marc was coming from one direction, but you could see the lights of an airplane go by. I said, can you imagine being on an airplane and you see Khonshu and Ammit fighting? You're like, what the?
No, but before that though, it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and Khonshu makes the sky go dark, and nobody bats an eye. Right, but nobody bats an eye. People are just going about their business. Like,
I mean, this is a world that's used to superheroes and aliens coming out of the air. They're probably just like, oh, okay. People probably aren't even phased. I mean, think about it. They were all still sitting there. You know, you had some people still in the, in the square walking or doing whatever. It's just
the family eating at the table.
Right. And the
saying,
only
just messed up their poor dinner. Like this, like whoosh, and like
it was
all the food off the table.
I would have been mad. I would have went and found them and been like, y'all need to go cook me some more dinner right now. Why y'all sitting here doing all this fight? Why are you out here being ridiculous? I'm gonna put on my best black mama voice. Get your ass in there and fix that.
like you see my tabbouleh. You spilled my tabbouleh.
Oh, but
oh my god.
And
I had no pity for Osiris or any of them when he came in there, and it was like, they're like, this is a disturbance. What happened? What's going on? It's like somebody's trying to raise him. They're like, is Harrow?
Right, because she walked over, she was like, someone's trying to raise Ammit. Like, he told y'all that's what they were gonna do. I was like, yeah.
Can we talk about how those avatars aren't worth shit? Harrow just walking in by himself, wiped them all out.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly. I mean, he did have, I'm looking at it in the background, he did have like armed guards, but I mean, again, these are the avatars of the gods.
Yeah, so, those armed guards didn't do anything. They were still in the same spot.
Yeah.
So very it just bothered me. Yeah. I know the writers had a reason to get to that point.
They're so worthless that they did their little super Ginyu Force pose when Harrow had the staff, and Harrow still wiped them out.
Yeah,
Maybe that's just to show how powerful Harrow was now that he had Ammit's avatar. I mean, Ushapti. So
yeah, but you know, Khonshu's avatar kicked his ass at the end of the day by himself.
yeah.
Osiris is. What's the point of having an avatar, Osiris, when your avatar can't do shit?
But you know what? Osiris didn't have a super suit. He didn't have a super suit.
Osiris, where is my super suit?
The only other thing I could think of was maybe those guys didn't give their avatars as much power as Khonshu and Ammit gave their avatar. Like
or also it could be that maybe those avatars weren't they weren't
what did he
as
say?
inclined to violence, maybe.
Yeah, he said y'all are judges, not warriors. So that may have had a lot to do with it too. You know, Osiris's avatar was like Wall Street stock exchange guy.
Right. Exactly. 3-piece suit and not
all
very good.
up.
But still, though, it was ridiculous. He just wiped them all out. But you know, whatever.
Yeah,
I tell you,
I like how he was like, how Harrow was like, you know, this doesn't need to happen. Then they were like, action pose, and he was like, and he like pointed the staff at him and like just like froze them all in place, like going like one was going up the stairs, one was like on the ground like this. It's like, you know, like it's I mean, he basically handled them like with ease. And shout outs to what's her name for not falling for Khonshu's banana in the tailpipe. Like when he suggested that she become his avatar, she was like, "Excuse me, hell no."
Because Marc had already warned her. She was like, "Marc don't trust you. I'm not gonna trust you." Especially at this point, you know, I think she was probably looking at it too, like Marc trusted you, and look what happened. He ended up dead anyway, because at this point, Marc was still dead, as far as she knew. So she was probably like, "Yeah, no, that's not a deal I want to take. If I'm gonna be killed, I'm gonna be killed on my own accord, and not, you know, yeah."
Now, when Tawaret was making Layla her avatar, was that the actress doing both voices, or was that the voice actress?
I don't know.
Because
I think that might have been the voice actress.
If it was the voice actress, shout out to her, because the sheer joy in her voice
that was Layla awesome.
Said yes.
That was like my favorite thing. But I think that was actually Layla doing it. It's like another actor in this series who can voice act, like who's a great voice actor, like who can make themselves turn themselves into another person. Because she literally was like, huh? Then she was like, oh my god, I'm so happy, like, you know. And I mean, she did a real good job in this. Like she's actually and she's the MVP in this. I thoroughly enjoyed her part.
I don't know.
She's kind of like
I got to give that. She's to like Oscar the Yelena. In this
she's
episode,
like the
yeah.
She's a Yelena in this thing, though. I think for me, it's like she's kind of like the Yelena where she comes through in the end, where she's like, where she gets powers and like looks good using them.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I still think MVP for the acting with oneself, that definitely goes to Oscar Isaac. I mean, in the beginning of the episode, you have him. Basically he gives up his position in the Rita Fields. He gives up being at peace because he's like, no, we got to go back for Steven. And Tawaret is like, but you're here, you can be at peace. Steven is gone. He was like, nah, that don't sit right with me. Let me go back. And he went back for Steven, and he tells Steven, you know, his little speech that he made to him, even though we don't know, well, I think Steven could hear him a little bit, but he was basically like, look, you saved me when we were young. From the time that you were here, you protected me, you saved me, and I wasn't able to do that for you, and I'm so sorry, but you are the only superpower I have ever needed. And he basically is about to allow himself to be taken by the Duat so that he could be with his other half, which other third or other whatever. But
one of the many.
right. But as he's being taken by the sands and he's starting to freeze up, he still has that unbalanced heart of theirs in his hand, and he puts it in Steven's hand, and they both freeze. And when he does that, the gates open, because that was like a selfless act for him. Like, oh, okay, you know what? Technically speaking, yeah, I know Steven is not a person. That's what they would say. Like, he's a part of your imagination, he's a part of your mind, but he's not an actual physical person. And Marc was like, I don't care, he's part of me. I'm going back for him. If he has to be, taken by the Duat, then me too.
I like the idea of a selfless act, but I think Osiris opened the gates.
You think so?
Yeah, because remember Tawaret was like, "Oh, Osiris, you softy." Yeah, I think
But
he
yeah,
No, I think
probably
Osiris
for
saw
that
what was going on.
reason.
Huh?
Plus, I think Osiris saw what was going on, and he was like, "Fuck, I need to get him back here because I just got my ass beat by a fucking guy with glasses and shoes." Yo, I think that's kind of what happened too.
Is that the penance that he claims he was
yes,
paying?
that was
Yes.
the penance. Yeah,
And it didn't work because he was still unbalanced. It's like she still told him that he was unbalanced, and he was like, "I guess you need to do what you have to do." In the back of his mind, he was like, You mean I fucked up my feet for nothing?"
He's unbalanced because he's a freaking psychopath. That's why he's
True.
unbalanced.
Factual. Yes.
But I also love the part where Layla, as Tawaret was like talking about her father, like, I met your father when I took him to the field of reeds.
What?
It's like, what? Oh, shoot.
Okay, first of all, that's not disturbing at all. Just kidding. To the god, and I'm probably going to butcher it, so I'm not going to say her name because I'm going to butcher it. She's known for stuff like that in mythology, but at the same time, she's also known as being very, very by the rules, as we saw with the index cards with things. So I was surprised that she was so lighthearted and jovial, because in other books, Rick Riordan's Red Pyramid series in particular, she's a little bit more hard nosed, and she's a little bit more of a well, you're here, this is what you have to do, and I wish I could help you, but I might help you, but at the same time, I'm not going to help you. That's sort of what she does. So it was an interesting take on her.
Well, I think in a way, if you look at it, I still feel like she was being not necessarily a hard nose, but I think she was still following the rules. I think what she was doing was because Harrow wasn't following the rules, and it was throwing everything else into chaos. And if they have chaos in the afterworld, it's going to be chaos everywhere. And I think she was basically like, okay, look, we need to fix this. We need to restore this. And right now, these two are the only ones who can do that, because they know what's going on. They have, I guess in a sense, fought this enemy. And they're also aware of Khonshu and what he requires and what he's capable of. So they are really the best bet to restore and balance to everything. And I think that was the one thing that we saw when Marc did do the thing, puts his heart there. They're balanced at that point, because they both value each other equally at this point, instead of Marc just looking at Steven as, a barrier, a protection, something to protect him. He's not looking at Steven now as just an extension of himself, but he is a part of himself. Like, this is somebody that is me. And I think that balance is eventually what allowed them to be able to get the gates open. Yes, Osiris opened the gates, but I think he opened the gates because he saw something there, like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to need to defeat Ammit. We can't have somebody selfish, because Khonshu, yeah, he has a great idea, and he has, I think, the right motives, but he's also selfish in it, I feel like. So I think with Marc being restored, yeah, you got a better chance, because now you see it throughout the episode. They are so in tune with each other now, Steven and Marc, they're going from from Steven to Marc with no hesitation. It's flawless. Even when they're fighting, at one point, you see Moon Knight, and then you see Steven. Let me tell you, there was one point where Steven did the thing where he was like, ah, and he got ready to fight, and then Harrow just kind of picked him up and threw him. I was like, well, you looked good preparing for it. But I love seeing the confidence that Steven has now, especially, because in the last episode, he was like, hey, Marc, you got this. Wait, but if you got this and I'm you, then I got this too. And it's just so different seeing Steven in this episode, because when they're fighting, he has a lot more confidence. Even talking to Khonshu, he was like, oh, okay, so yeah, let's negotiate this. And Khonshu said, you want to talk about this now while all of this is going on? He was like, this is the best time to talk about it. Yeah. So let's talk about what we're going to do when all this is over. You're going to let us go. You're going to set us free. And Khonshu is like, we're really discussing this now? Yes. This is what we're doing, Khonshu, or else we're just going to sit here. Khonshu at that point, he's like, okay, you know what?
Khonshu's a sneaky motherfucker too. I'm like, this dude. I mean, the fact that he said, the fact that he agreed to it, I was like, yeah, there's a catch. I don't trust that shit at all.
That was too easy. He's shady motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
We do find out later he was being shady.
Yeah, you knew that he had a card up his sleeve just in case of emergency. I think that's what Jake was. Jake was his break glass in case of an emergency, or in case shit got too far out of hand for either Marc.
It has been all season, and we just didn't know it. Especially when he showed up in this episode, Harrow is basically draining the soul out of Marc, and Layla is being attacked by some of Harrow's men, and you just see Marc all of a sudden, the eyes go back, and I was like, here comes Jake. Here comes Jake. And we hadn't even been officially introduced to him at that point, but we've been talking about it all season. Like, okay, yeah, there's definitely a third person in there, and that one is the deadliest of all. And of course, Marc comes out of his blackout, and everybody is on the ground, and everybody is dead. And Layla is like, what the fuck, Marc? And Marc was like, I love it that Marc was like, Steven, that wasn't you, was it? And Steven's like, nah,
no chance, mate. No chance.
So at that point, there's somebody else in there, because Layla didn't even bat an eyelash. She was like, what the fuck, Marc? And he was like, I blacked out. She's just like, oh. Like, who do we have now? I don't know if she wants to date though.
This is another reason why I need another season, because I need some of these scenes played back, and I want to see him like blistering and bludgeoning motherfuckers. I want to see Jake blistering and bludgeoning motherfuckers. I need to see these fight scenes. Like,
there's a scene where I believe we do see Jake. And at the end, when they're back in talking to Harrow, his accent changes.
Yes, that Boston accent is definitely.
Yeah, he says, and while it's tempting to accept your diagnosis, Doc, that don't sound like Marc or Steven.
I noticed that too, but I wasn't sure. I thought maybe I was just hearing it differently, because at that point they're switching from Marc to Steven so often in the conversation.
Right, and the subtitles say Marc too. But what happened was I was doing something and it was playing in the background, so I wasn't watching it. I was listening, and it's 3 separate accents.
Oh,
yeah.
And I turned to Michelle. I was like, "Oh my god, that's Jake!" Because I played it back because I wasn't looking. I was listening only. Okay, and it's definitely. It's
just like in episode 5 when it started off, when he was in the office, and he had the bruise on. He had like a broken nose. Like, that was Jake too. When he grabbed the glass pyramid and he was trying to put his own eye out. Like, that was Jake.
That was Jake. Okay.
Yeah.
Because he had the same accent.
Well, I mean, I looked for it, but I couldn't find it.
It's just like Ant said, you kind of have to listen more than watch it, because if you look at it, you're just going to see him. But if you like close your eyes and listen to the change, you'll hear the changes in accent coming. So it's like, Ant's onto it.
Okay.
Okay, well, I will check it out.
Yeah. Now, here's my question. We talked about the construction on the pyramids before. I need to know what they did because you got two, like Mike said, you got a full-on kaiju fight going on. They're slamming each other into the pyramid, and there's
It
no
was
damage.
glorious. It was
There's no
glorious.
damage.
Hey, they don't make them like they used to, you know.
Well, if you like
Aliens.
puppeteers and props, you like certain things, but I had some issues with the whole kaiju thing because to me, it was like, okay, they're playing with this, they've got this oversized, god, and then you've got these other gods and you got them up top fighting, and then you've got everyone else at the bottom, and it's like, yeah, it felt very, and I'm going to use, do not judge me, Mike, Anthony, it was very Pacific Rim, but in a bad way.
It was kind of
I
Pacific
think,
Rimish.
yeah,
I'll give you that.
yeah, because that's what I thought too. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, but
But it's like, but I mean, still, it's an Egyptian kaiju fight, Lori.
Right.
They're
I know.
Egyptian
I
gods is
know.
kaiju. Just
I
suspend
know.
anything else you think about. You're watching Egyptian gods fight in kaiju form
This is
against
true.
the pyramid that's not
This
falling
is true.
down because it was built by
This is true.
aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it was aliens,
But
but
it
aliens.
was aliens.
I
But
agree.
yeah, I thought that was. I mean, yeah, and they're it's like Khonshu got a couple of licks in, but what's her name was beating his ass like that, and she was because she's been waiting for this a long time, waiting for him to break him up. She was waiting to be broken down a long time, so she's like, I'm not going back in there for nothing. So I'm going out fighting. If you're gonna try to come get me, I'm gonna beat your ass.
Mhm.
So you gonna have to come strong or not at all.
Mm. Actually, I was thinking we're not that far off from aliens because didn't the Asgardians show us that the gods really are just beings from
That's
this
true. And Kang is an
different-
alien, and Kang was an Egyptian god. So
See, that's
This-
funny. Michael went Marvel. I went Stargate.
Yeah.
Well, the
Hanako, I'm
Stargate
actually
ones
with
are
you on that one.
actual aliens, though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
but still.
Stargate, the Guau.
yeah,
The gold and
But no, I'm
especially when
saying-
you got Apophis and all that. But that was so much fun though. But anyway.
But they had Asgardians in Stargate, and they were aliens.
Yeah.
Yes,
They were
Thor
little
and all
green
them.
men
That's true.
with the
That's
big
true.
eyes.
Thor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thor.
Exactly.
Mhm,
But see, in Marvel, they're not really aliens. They're just beings from a different plane, I guess.
with a higher scientific knowledge, it's like all their magic
Yeah.
is science.
Yeah. But
But you know,
Which explains why Thor speaks Groot.
Groot. Exactly.
I took it as an elective.
I mean, I want to take Groot as an elective. Like, I want to know.
we need to because apparently the I Am Groot series is coming up soon. I think August, they said.
Okay.
Yeah, it's coming up real soon.
Yeah,
I don't know how they snuck that in. Like they snuck filming in for that like somewhere. Like how? I don't understand.
I saw the little promo image today, and I was like, "Wait, what? Like, it's coming out this like soon? Like in a couple of months? Okay."
Well, I was sort of stunned when I saw when I logged into Disney Plus that Miss Marvel is Wednesday. I mean,
Yes.
they're just giving this all like fast.
And
I don't
Thor's
know
coming
how
up
we're
in
gonna
what, 2 weeks?
Yep, pretty much.
Mhm.
I
I don't
like
know how we're gonna talk about all this stuff. I just don't.
I'm still on the latest season of Discovery. I haven't seen Picard. I haven't seen Stranger Things. Not even Prodigy or Lower Decks. I'm behind. So it's not just you. Everybody.
Yeah, I think we need clones.
Yeah.
We need clones. Like we need to have our real life clones, not us. The clones can go and deal with work and all that other stuff, and then we just sit here and do this all day. That would be great.
All I'm saying is that I currently have 11 weeks of vacation and I can take time off.
I'm gonna tell you, I don't even know if 11 weeks of vacation would help me at this point with everything that's in our backlog.
It's true.
And then I think when we talked a few weeks ago, we were all coming up with ideas for additional
Exactly.
podcast ideas. I was like, I need to hit the lottery. I need to
Mhm.
hit the lottery so I can stay at home and just do this all day.
I may or may not have bought $25 worth of lottery tickets today. I'm just saying.
We should do a pool. We should find a lottery that is both in Georgia and California, and we should do a pool and just try. I'm sure Casey and Michelle would be willing to go in
If
on the
we
pool.
win, I am building a podcasting studio in my backyard next to my pool house.
How are we gonna get anything done?
Hey, I went to a convention last week where I watched panels sitting poolside with my feet in the water. It can get done.
I'm jealous.
It can get
But-
done.
But I
No,
will
I thought
point
that, I
out
thought that was dope.
that was dope. But see, here's the bad thing. The bad thing is that they had Celebration almost 2 weeks ago, and I've never seen, and I love Celebration. Let's talk about Star Wars. I've never seen more of a struggle con in my life. One of my friends, I think you might know him, Kenny. He stood in line to see the season premiere of Bad Batch. He was in line for 3 hours.
Yeah, I've heard some. I've been
Yeah.
seeing some friends on Twitter because Celebration was the same weekend as the camp, which is what Casey and I went to for The Walking Dead, and yeah, I heard that there were some problems, but that's a whole other conversation.
Whole different thing. But let me just throw my 2 cents in because I'm watching this thing. I'm just gonna say this now.
Did you just wait? Did you just literally throw 2 pennies?
What's that?
I'm sorry,
was a
ma'am.
noise in the background, in your background, right after you
I
said,
heard-
"Let me put my two cents." In.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I
The
did.
position
Okay,
position
I'm
for
sorry.
literal pun producer is currently taken, ma'am. You're not gonna be taking my
I'm
spot, okay?
Sorry.
Proceed.
Sorry. No, I was just going to throw this out and then I'll kick it back to you guys. The thing that struck me most about this episode is that the costume is amazing. It may not be 100% spot on all the time as far as the comic book star reference are concerned, but I'm loving Moon Knight's costume. It grew on me because it had some problems, I think, at the beginning. But yeah, this last episode, what do you say, Mike? Chef's kiss? I give that to the costume.
Was it the dark gray costume in this one, or
Yes,
was that just the lighting?
No, it was. Remember, as the moon phases, it gets darker or lighter.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was sort of a mid-dark, mid-gray thing. Yeah, but it
Okay.
was that.
Okay, and I love the way, again, every time they show him putting on the suit, I'm impressed with the way that they do it. But when he literally comes back to life, you know, when the bullet holes come out and he stands up and you see it just kind of wrapping itself around him. I'm just looking at the TV screen like this, like, how did they do that?
It was
so
beautiful.
pretty.
Yes, it was. It was absolutely beautiful. And you know, one of the things that I always have a problem with is that when they do costumes and they do screen from comic book to screen, you know, like the Flash costume, how realistic, how much are you going to get that fan service, you know, from the fans? But this one, I think they hit a happy medium.
It looks so good. And I mean, even just the way that they were, like I said, going back and forth between personalities in this one. So you got Marc and Moon Knight, and you got, you know, Steven and Mr. Knight, and the way they were just kind of going back and forth, it was flawless. It was flawless.
Yeah.
I like that one scene when Harrow was holding on to the cape.
Yes.
And then he switched and the cape disappeared.
I loved it. I was like, okay, look at y'all working together. Yeah, that's teamwork.
Right, yeah. I love the part where Layla flies in and like Marc, so he's like, wow, look at you. Then Steven like instantly comes, he's like, wow, you're gorgeous.
Right.
It's like okay, are y'all gonna be doing this the whole time? It's like just like popping in and out at inopportune moments. But
right. And
also
Layla
shout out for self.
She's trying to figure out, she's like, wait, how are you here? Because she left him in the water because she thought he was dead. And Steven's like, yeah, we'd love to show you what we could do. She was like, oh, go for it. I was like, okay, I'm loving this banter. Let's go. Because they're like in the middle of fighting and they're still having the time to make this conversation and they're joking. And then they're going to go kick some ass. I was like, yes, I'm all for this. I'm all for this. I'm here for it.
And
now,
like Steven
it's going to be interesting.
And like Steven punching Harrow, then going like and like going forward. I was like, let's go. Let's
See,
go.
he looked good when he did that, and then Harrow grabbed him by the leg and threw him across the street to the into the store.
But that's fine because then Marc took over and had the Batman grapple hook, had Batman grapple go past him, and he came and kicked him in the face. So it's like teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
Yeah, I mean they were making Harrow fight for it. They were.
Yeah.
But the other
I love Layla's wings. Like when Harrow threw the bolt of energy at her and she like blocked it and knocked his ass back and blocked her too. That was crazy.
I loved her like when she comes out and she's in the suit and she's looking, and then she reaches back behind her back and she pulls out the wings and she's like, wow. And then she looks at the camera and she does that little smile, like, yes, on now. I was like,
that was fire.
I love God. I love everything about this. So, and she didn't have to listen to Tawaret in her mind because she was like, oh yeah, okay. You said you're gonna be my temporary avatar. Okay, here you go. Here's a suit. Go have fun. Kick some ass.
Yep.
I like how she said, "I have some ideas for a suit.
I'm perfect suit like But awesome. That whole thing when Tawaret was speaking through the dead guards was kind of creepy.
That was very creepy.
Like Layla, wait.
And Layla was just kind of going through it, and not even just the dead guard. She also spoke through Osiris's dead avatar.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, she did.
Yeah, but everything about that was just great. The little girl saying, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" She's like, "I am," and kept on going. I was like, I love this.
Love it.
Oh yeah, because
that was Black Girl Magic or whatever it's called.
Tawaret was in the in Osiris's avatar. Layla, I'm so happy you did. Oh my god.
Yeah, she was a little loud because Harrow heard and was like, I was like, Tawaret, you're too loud. Use your indoor voice. But this episode was so good. I mean, and like you said, yes, it was shorter, but when I was watching it, yes, it did feel a little rushed, but I didn't feel like I was left wanting at the end of this episode. Like wanting in a good way, yes, like, oh, okay, you guys finally show us Jeff at the end and you confirmed that this person. So now I want to see more for that. But as far as like where their story ended, I was cool with it. Now I would like to see how Layla's gonna how she's gonna maneuver having Marc and Steven in her life, because she's obviously attracted to Steven as well as her husband. So that's gonna be interesting. But I enjoyed this series so much. There was just so much to like about it. And you know, I know we're always complaining about the fact that these shows are only 6 episodes. I like what they did with the 6 episodes in this. And again, the acting was fucking phenomenal. Oscar Isaac, give that man his flowers, give him all the things, because he earned it. He earned it in this show. Earned it, absolutely.
100%. And I think they changed it from limited to like a drama series. So I mean that's kind of the first clue that they're gonna do another season of it. Because it's not nominated in limited run. So hopefully that means that they're gonna run it out.
They're just keeping their options open.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. But I mean, I think they were probably waiting because they didn't know how this was going to go, because Moon Knight is not, he's not a Superman or Batman level character.
See, that bothers me, because Kevin Feige knows good and damn well that anything that they have done has been. If
you build it, they will come.
He knows.
Yeah, but I mean,
they know
for every Moon Knight, there's a Morbius, so you can't.
No, you're talking about a completely different studio and company and production team. Kevin Feige has proven come on now. He knows what he's doing. They know what they're doing.
With Moonlight, if they were to make this into a movie and put it in theaters right now, people will pay to go see it as a movie, even though they've already seen it on Disney Plus. They just re-released Morbius in the movie theaters and it bombed for a second time. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Why?
It's like,
and they're doing
like
a
Morbius
Morbius
is here.
too.
I said Morbius is here. Nobody cares.
And going back to what Mike, piggybacking off of what Mike said, just the fact that they made a 6-episode series about Moon Knight, like, that's not random. That is a plan for something. And I think Midnight Suns might actually be a real thing.
Oh, I hope it is. But see,
because this is like they've introduced us to Dane. We all know who Blade is. Okay, let's introduce the world to Moon Knight. And
they have to.
Yeah. And everybody know who Ghost Rider. They don't have to do a Ghost Rider movie. Because everybody
knows who Strange is too. So it's like everybody's there.
Yeah. The only piece missing was Moon Knight.
And Werewolf at Night. But it's like, I mean, they've been hinting at Werewolf at Night through this series. Like every time you see one of those QC codes, if you scan the QC code, you get a comic of Werewolf at Night, which is a blatant, obvious line towards Midnight Suns. That's this blatant. This is blatant as blatant could be. They might as well say, "Hey, we're going to do Midnight Suns later, but here, check this out."
And if they use J. Jonah Jameson's son as, because he was Werewolf by Night, that would really connect it to Midnight Sun too. So that'd be cool. But see, here's the thing: people forget when Morbius first came out in comic book form, Morbius actually sold for a hot minute. It sold well over 250,000. You know, the first, like, I think 5 or 6 issues, and then it cooled off because it was something new and it was something different. Now, if Marvel was smart, if they went back and say, okay, we're going to reissue this, and this, but we're going to announce, like I was telling you guys about Damage Control a few weeks ago, if they would release a new limited 6-issue or 4-issue miniseries run with Midnight Sun to get the excitement, and then go over to Twitch or wherever they have, the video games, and say, hey, if you want to know about this, here's the comic book coming out. That's the disconnect that they don't have. You can get people to see Iron Man, you can get people to see Doctor Strange, you can get people to see Avengers, but it doesn't translate into comic book sales. So that's the thing they need to work on, and they've always have. If they did that with Midnight Sun, you might actually get something.
Well, I don't know what they're doing about that as far as the comic books, but I have seen today, as a matter of fact, that there's probably going to be a release date for the video game, Marvel's Midnight Suns.
There you go. That answers all your questions right there. I mean, Morbius, the Living Vampire, was really good. It's a really good comic book. And then all the crap that he goes through with Blade and Spider-Man, all this stuff is fantastic. But that's not owned by the company that is having all the success.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for Blade. And it's tough to we're gonna have Blade and no more Morbius. That's gonna be a little tough. But
I need this. I really need it.
When they announced Moon Knight, my first thought was, oh wow, that's kind of cool. Moon Knight, this is gonna be interesting and different. I didn't think about it until later, like, why Moon Knight? Of all the Marvel superheroes that's available to them, why Moon Knight? And going to the Midnight Suns makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, whatever the reason, I'm glad they decided on it, because I absolutely loved this show. Loved Oscar Isaac in the title role. I mean, it was a great show.
I mean, look at the stuff that Marvel has brought. It's like nobody would have even thought about doing Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, Guardians of the Galaxy was a cast-off comic. Like, nobody would have even thought about touching that and making that a movie. But it's like now we can't even imagine the Marvel universe without Groot, Rocket, or Star-Lord. You know what I'm saying? And it's like there's so many things that they've brought out that is I would love to just get into Feige's mind, or to get into the brain trust of Marvel Studios, just to see their idea board and to see what they have up there and all the strings that connect everything towards everything. Like, because it's like the way they think is like, who would have thought that like the event, like Tony Stark, like Iron Man over here and Guardians of the Galaxy over here would have a common thread at the end of Phase 3. Like, that's crazy. That's insane. Like, nobody would have thought that Tony would have spent time with Nebula on a fucking spaceship and get rescued by Captain Marvel.
Right.
Nobody.
Who thinks of that?
Nobody. Exactly. Like, what the hell? Like, those are three characters. Worked. Yes, and it worked great, like brilliantly. Like, that shit was great. And it's like, I just want to know, like what they. All I want a Howard the Duck reboot. That's all I want. Give me a Howard the Duck reboot, and I'll be happy, man.
Who in the idea room thought, let's have Groot use his arm as a handle for Stormbreaker?
That's brilliant. That's just fucking brilliant, dude. Like, what the hell? Like, and then to have him, because like he was like the like broody teenager, to have him finally realize that I need to step up and do something and help out. And he's like, okay, I'll do this. And it's like, damn, like that's crazy. That shit's crazy. But yeah, it's like I can't wait to see it. Like, and it's because since he's proven that he can tie seemingly polar opposite things together, I can't wait to see how he ties everything that they brought out together, because it's gonna be epic whatever they do.
They did it once, they can do it again. But see, I'm going to just point out two things. One, I have never thought in my entire life that I would see a Black Panther movie, let alone it be so well done. But let's back it up. I, who am a lifelong comic reader since I was 8 years old, would never have thought that we would get an Iron Man movie. That's what set it off. When I found Blade, okay, I'll give you Blade. Wesley Snipes, he was looking for a project. Blade movies are awesome, all three of them. Yada, yada, yada. TV series, not so much, but it was Blade. That's cool. That was a one set or offset or whatever they call it. But the fact that 10 years later, they said, we're going to do, or 12 or whatever years later, we're going to do an Iron Man movie. When I found that out, I literally turned to my husband and I says, really? They're going to do Demon in a Bottle? Because I thought that was the only story that they could do. Right? And it was awesome. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my God, they actually did a Iron Man movie. And that just set everything up, because we had seen, a couple other things in between. I mean, the Hulk movies, the first and the second, they weren't that good. The second was slightly better. We had seen different things, but the fact that you got Obadiah Stane, you've got Iron Man, you've got the one guy, you got the fact that you actually have at best a C-level character with Iron Man, who turns out to be the cornerstone and the leader of the Avengers. And then you get the Avengers films. And then they, when they introduce Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow, like, okay, we're getting there. But, it was seamless because you didn't realize the build that they were doing until it hit you with that first of the two last movies.
Yeah, and Black Widow was a lower level character too, and
right, exactly.
And now everybody loves her, and everybody was, and it's proven by everybody being mad, our present company included, that she didn't get a bigger part in Endgame, like that she, that she died. She didn't get her part in the Girls Get It Done scene where all the women kind of busted everybody up.
Hard I'm rolling my eyes.
Yeah.
They would get stuck like that. But anyway. But that just goes to prove that they know how to handle, like, I mean, they've taken like characters that don't really get as much, that aren't Superman, Batman level, and turned them into characters that are like possibly A level, but definitely B level characters. Like, that get their own storylines.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
That's why what they've done with Moon Knight is so freaking amazing. They've taken this, I'm gonna say it, this obscure superhero and turned him into like this cultural phenomenon. And now everyone's like, we can't wait to see him in the movie with Blade and Black Knight. It's gonna be amazing.
Oh yeah.
and Ghost Rider. It's going to be great.
Now, do you think they're going to redo Ghost Rider to fit in?
They
I
don't
think
need to. They don't need to.
They can bring him. They can bring him in as a post credit scene in
Right,
something,
right, right.
and then bring it, and then kind of roll it out. They don't need to do another. See, Nicolas Cage would be like, yes. We're like, no.
No. The first Ghost
They
Rider.
need to bring back what's his name from Agents of Shield, because he was actually a good Ghost Rider.
Absolutely.
Bridge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Coulson. The first Ghost Rider movie.
No.
Robbie
No?
Reyes.
Oh yeah, him. Yeah, he was perfect.
Yeah,
The first Ghost Rider film
he was fire.
was okay. The second Ghost Rider film was actually slightly better. Look, that I forget which movie it was, but when him and Sam Elliott were doing the run down to wherever they were going to, and they had the old school Ghost Rider with the horse, they had it with that was like the only best scene in the entire two movies.
That was good. That was actually a good scene.
That was actually decent.
That.
Yeah.
Did they have a fiery train too, or something?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, like I said, there was some aspects of the Ghost Rider movies that I was sitting there going, okay, I can see what you're doing, but again, they didn't have the technology, they didn't have the storyline, they didn't have the backing of Feige. Because honestly, if those Ghost Rider movies would have been done right, they could have been in the Pantheon. Seriously, because I love me some Ghost Rider. Literally, love Ghost Rider.
Well, I know that there's rumors about.
They brought him in Agent. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I know that's why they brought him in Agents of Shield,
right?
Rehabilitate the character.
And Anthony, I'm gonna jump off real quick. That's the other thing that blows my mind. We got an Agent of Shield TV series. I mean, come on, who would have thought when we were 12 years old that we would get this? This is the magic of Disney.
Yeah. The other reason why I brought Ghost Rider up is because, there's a lot of rumors going around that there's probably going to be a Ghost Rider project. There's a lot of talk, especially in the Walking Dead fandom, because Norman Reedus, his name has been attached, or his name has been like heavily rumored, lots of fan casting. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, okay, are they going to go that route? Like, I don't know if they would choose him, but just the fact that there may be a project. I don't know if it would be a limited series like we've seen with Moon Knight and with Hawkeye and all of those, or if they would actually try to attempt to do a movie. My feeling personally is, if you're going to bring the character in the MCU, quote unquote, properly, I think at this point they would probably need to do it as a series, because you've already tried it as a movie twice and not really.
Right.
I'm gonna go back just a little bit on something I said about people not watching the series and then making movies. Not so I'm gonna agree with you, Hanako. I think Ghost Rider has to be a series. And they can't do a standalone movie because it might work, but it won't be that successful. And my only fear is that a Midnight Suns movie, because they introduced the name the Black Knight so in such an abstract kind of way, that it's going to be a movie centered around him. Because we know Kit Harington, right? He's a pretty big actor now. So the movie's going to be centered around him, and then you'll have the established Blade, you'll have Moon Knight, and then you'll have Ghost Rider, characters we're already pretty familiar with. And that would be my only fear. That's really going to be a movie about him becoming the Black Knight. So that's why I think that they would do a series for Ghost Rider, because they're not going to waste that energy on a movie for him, because then you'll need to do a movie for Blade too,
which they are already doing.
Right.
So okay.
So that might be a little bit too much to add another, especially when you have the Disney Plus platform where you can just do a series. It's going to be successful, and people are going to watch it. It's going to be interesting. And you can do everything you need to do in a 6-episode series instead of trying to cram it into a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, yeah, you're right, because you put in a 6-episode series, you pretty much are doing 2 movies right there. time wise.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, makes sense.
That's true.
Either way it goes, I'm gonna go see it. So, but I think at this point you've already tried Ghost Rider as a movie twice. Now, granted, it probably it will probably be more successful under this umbrella, but yeah, I think it probably would need to be smaller doses, you know. But it's a lot to think about, you know. But I mean, Mike has been talking about Midnight Suns since the first episode of Moon Knight.
Hey,
So
look, I like calling my shots. I'm just saying. I mean, and it's just like they. I mean, they've been putting stuff out that just leads towards it. So it's just like, I mean, it's kind of obvious now. It's like if they don't do it, it'll be a major letdown. So
right.
it's like some way they have to figure a way to put it in.
Yeah,
But
but it's kind of
you know,
like what they're doing with the other group. Which one is it? Is it Young Avengers that they're doing with
yeah,
Isaiah Bradley and Yelena, and yeah, so
I mean, they're literally just putting the pieces on the board. Kevin Feige is like, okay, we're gonna put everything that they're doing is very intentional. Like I said, Moon Knight is a very obscure superhero. You just dedicated millions of dollars, and you had Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, and F. Murray Abraham. You're just not doing that just as a shot in the dark.
right, exactly.
right.
You know, just like with the She-Hulk series, the Miss Marvel series, these things are not shots in the dark. These things are very intentional,
right.
with an obvious plan in the works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to come to fruition. I mean, especially because I think that a lot, because like Eternals kind of did it, but the fact that it got such mixed reviews from people that it's like people kind of forget that that could be a really big jumping off point for a lot of different characters. But it's like it had such the bad thing about it is that it had such mixed reviews that it's just it's kind of forgettable. Except for like the last scene where we almost get the Black Knight and Blade kind of intervenes. So it's like, but I mean, I can't wait, especially to see how, as far as Moon Knight goes, to see how the three of them interact now that Khonshu basically has
Jake.
set Marc and Steven free and has Jake as the primary, basically. And I think Jake probably is the one that is way sneakier, the way a little bit better at hiding his tracks than the other two are, because Jake really wants to stay in the background. He doesn't want anybody to know that he really exists, because I mean he's been a cab driver where he blends into the background. He's been homeless where he blends into the background where no one pays attention to him, because that's where he thrives. He thrives in places where nobody pays attention to him, and that gives him more, not necessarily more power, but it gives him more confidence. So the fact that he can actually exist a little more freely now, because Khonshu can't use Marc anymore, can't use Steven, so he only has one person to use. And so he's like, okay, well now you can be out more, but you just kind of have to you just have to be careful. So he's like, okay, fine. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Yeah.
So I guess my question now is, how is that going to work with Marc and Steven both being free, but Jake still being tied to Khonshu? Like, we clearly saw Marc and Steven wake up in Steven's apartment. Now, I don't know what the time frame was between then and when Khonshu went to go get Harrow, but I'm just wondering, like, how is that going to work now?
See, I think they are aware that there's a third person.
I mean, they have to be after the carnage in Cairo. They have to be.
Right. So that's why I think he's still chaining himself up thinking we're gonna make sure this other one doesn't, you know,
Not
go off and
knowing
do
that
things.
Khonshu is already aware of it. And
Right.
okay.
But then the problem I have with that is that Mark knows that that's what he did with Steven. Like, why wouldn't the third person just do what he did and unbuckle himself?
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see in
we'll
season
see.
2.
Y'all want to see how mad Steven is that Khonshu's wearing his damn suit. Like, look, man, I didn't say you can wear my clothes. Even though Khonshu looked good as fucking that suit. I was like, all right,
He
damn.
looks so tiny though, sitting in
Yeah,
that
but
limousine, sitting in that
Yeah.
car. He looks
yeah,
so
that's true.
tiny.
But it's like he's probably tiny because he don't want to get his ass beat again. He don't want to see any other Egyptian gods coming to life and beating his ass.
Oh, and is Jake going around registering cars in Mark's name because the
See?
license tag says Spectre?
Right.
Like, Jake is shady, shiesty.
But the other thing too is, you know how you look at Steven and you look at Mark and you're kind of like, okay, yeah, I can tell that they're kind of sort of the same person. Jake's look, like the way Oscar Isaac controls his face is Jake, it looks so different because when I saw him, I was like, is that him? I was like, or is that somebody else? And then when he turns around, he has such a menacing look. And then, of course, he's speaking in Spanish. And it's just like so different from Mark and Steven. Like, I don't see any similarities there. He looks like a totally different person. So I'm like, yeah, this is gonna
It's
be
the whole thing,
good.
like when like how I don't know how Oscar Isaac does it. Like this is like a master study in changing character.
I
Like,
said that from the beginning. Yes, this
I
man,
mean,
this show was a master class. That's all it was. Just
yeah,
watch and learn. Just amazing. But hopefully we'll get a season 2 because I don't think Mark and Steven's story is over yet. And at this point, I can't exactly see where they would reintroduce the character in the MCU, given what we know is coming up. I'm not sure how that would work. So it's kind of like, just give us a second season. Just go ahead and tell us. But I mean, they're still playing around with whether or not we're getting Hawkeye season 2. So I don't know. I would like to see it.
When does Thor come out?
Next month.
like a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yep.
We are talking about Egyptian gods, right?
Yes.
And
I mean,
Glory is the
and
god
there have been
butcher,
scenes
right?
where Bast has been seen in cutscenes in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Rumored to be Bass.
Yeah, rumored to be Bass.
Rumored to
Yeah.
be Bass.
But
So maybe that would be an opportunity to bring Moon Knight in. Khonshu's in danger.
It's true.
Yeah.
They're like, has anyone seen Osiris? And Khonshu walks in in the white suit, like, Osiris is indisposed. I'm here to take his place. I mean, it could be. It could happen like that.
Interesting. Yep. I guess we'll have to see if any of that pans out. Let's see. Anybody have any final thoughts on Moon Knight? Either the finale or the show.
I'm just gonna say that I thoroughly enjoyed all the episodes. What I said at the beginning about not liking the episodes where they do either the fast forward or the fast back, and they do the the whole psychological thing. The Asylum episode, it didn't bother me as it usually does. I thought that the Scarlet Scarab was kind of cute the way they did that. Mostly, I appreciate the fact that A, we got a Moon Knight series. B, it wasn't crap. It was actually pretty decent. And C, I want them to do more because I feel as a lifelong Moon Knight fan, they skipped over so much. But I had a list prepared a few weeks ago and I don't know where it is. But basically, except for I think one particular run of Moon Knight since the inception of the character, they included bits of every single person who's ever written Moon Knight into this series in one shape or form, and I thought that was cool.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. I thoroughly love the series. Like I said, it's probably in my top, at least definitely my top three, maybe my top two of Marvel series that we've seen.
Okay.
I loved Layla's costume. I really want to see what they're going to do with her, because you just don't introduce something at a costume like hers and with the powers that it possesses for it to only be like a one-off temporary avatar situation. Especially when the little girl said, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" and she said, "I am." It's like, okay, they're definitely setting her up to keep the suit, continue to be at least bare minimum part-time avatar, and to continue to do things. So I can't wait to see what they do with her.
Right.
I can't wait to. Like I said before, like I keep saying, I can't wait to see all three identities like actually try to coexist with each other. Like the first one where they're fighting and all three of them kind of pop in and out. Like I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that to happen, because it's gonna happen. I I'm so glad that with this series and with Miss Marvel premiering Wednesday, I mean the amount of, and with Echo coming up next year or whenever it's coming up, the amount of representation that Marvel is putting forth is unparalleled. Like this is literally a historic amount of, a historic amount of representational TV shows, films, and everything, characters that are being introduced at one time. And I applaud Marvel for doing that, because I mean it really started with Black Panther, and it kind of grew from there. Like just doing one movie where the central character is a person of color or a Black person is BIPOC, and it's really good to see. And that's something that, while DC can try, I mean DC kind of did it with Black Lightning, but not really. I don't really count that. I think that DC is way behind on that. But I don't see how they're going to do it unless they just. I don't even know if DC has Muslim or Egyptian or characters that are anything other than black or white or alien.
They do. One of the magic users that works with Zatanna, he's half black, half Muslim. You've got Black Adam, and you've got uh, old lady Isis and all that. But you also do have a fairly decent group from Kandak. You've got the Black Milestone characters. You've got some of the characters from 52 with the Great 10 for China. So they do have a pantheon of POC characters. They just don't use it. Ryan Choi is the new Adam, and he has been for about 8 years now, maybe 10.
Yeah.
You have the Blue Beetle, Jaime. He's Hispanic. So they do have them, but they use them sparingly.
Okay.
See, I love how I just threw that in the air, and Lori just grabbed it and turned around in the air and just jammed it home. See, that's what I'm talking about. Teamwork makes the dream work. I'm glad I got you in here,
right.
Lori. Good job.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, but see, then again, I don't trust DC to do as good a job of it as Marvel did. I don't trust them to do it at all. I really don't. It's like I expect them to fumble it. It's like I'm hoping to God they don't fumble Black Adam. Like, please don't mess this up. It's so easy. Black Adam is so easy. Like, it's literally as easy as Shazam. It's that damn easy. It's like you give the rock lightning powers and let him go around and wreak havoc. It's like it's simple. It's really fucking easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, don't fuck this. It's almost unfuck upable. But we're talking DC in a movie. If it was a TV series, I would have been like, "Oh, this is gonna be fucking incredible." But it's a DC movie, so I know they're gonna fuck it up. But yeah, I love this series. I wish they would have done better with Taskmaster.
That has nothing to do with this series, Mike. Oh my god.
Okay, look, if they do so good, I have to keep bringing up the bad so they don't do that shit again. That shit was uncalled for. And besides, when I first saw Taskmaster and Moon Knight, I used to get them confused. It's like I would see the cowl and the the face mask. I would get I would kind of put them together.
Okay.
But They actually did this one right, as opposed to the way they fucking murdered. I feel like Marlon Brando in Godfather. Like, look how they murdered my boy. They're just terrible. But yeah, I
Oh
love
my
this show,
God.
and I can't wait to see everything else that comes out.
Anthony, you got any final thoughts?
I just want to repeat what I said earlier. I'm just amazed that they were able to take an obscure superhero and turn him into a cultural phenomenon. And I'm here for it. I thought the show was awesome.
Yep. And I agree with everything all three of you said. So I guess that's it for our discussion on Moon Knight. At least until we find out whether or not we're getting more of him somewhere in the MCU. But for now, that's it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can watch our videos on YouTube and listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.